Axel, December 2021, the runoff elections in Chile. What happened and what does it mean for the country?
Well, what happened was that the socialist candidate Gabriel Boric, who is a very radical and far-left politician, won. And he has very radical socialist ideas. We know that socialism is becoming increasingly popular among the new generations. And so he managed to galvanize this base of people, especially young women. So I believe this is going to be a very bad for Chile. We have been in a declining path for a while. It started with the second government of Michelle Bachelet. She made very radical left-wing reforms, and now I think Boric is gonna go even deeper than she did. So this is going to ruin Chile's possibilities of becoming a developed country.
It certainly seems very concerning to those of us who are big fans of individual freedom and free markets, Axel. And I'd just like to hear from you. What do you think some of President-elect Boric's priorities are? What has he said he's going to do once he assumes office and to change the face of Chile?
Well, it's a lot of economic populism. So they are claiming that they will turn Chile into a Nordic model of welfare state, which is, of course, nonsense. This is not going to happen. He's going to increase the size of government by 5 to 8 percentage points of GDP, which would mean like a third in growth of the size of government. He's promising better retirement or, state-funded pensions for retirees who have not saved in their lives. And he wants to dramatically increase that, but he doesn't have the money to do that. But he still thinks he can achieve that goal. He is promising an end to the ADVIERTE system, which is the private capitalization accounts that we introduced in the 80s in order to solve the fiscal crisis and to solve the pension problem, which many developed countries have nowadays. He's going to put an end to that. That's at least what he promised. And things of that sort, like a dramatic increase in the size of government. He says he's going to revise free trade agreements that Chile has signed. He's not going to join the TTP. He is going, very populistic. And I fear that even those parts of the Chilean economic free market system that were untouched so far, like free trade agreements, he's going to probably do something about it, and he's going to, to damage that. So I am extremely concerned about the future of Chile, and I don't think this is going to be fixable. We will not be able to fix this in many, many, many years.
Well, hearing that kind of sweeping agenda, Axel, is indeed very concerning. And it does remind me of that fantastic Margaret Thatcher quote, the problem with socialism is that eventually you run out of other people's money. So I am curious when it comes to all of these expansive government programs that the new administration is planning, what kind of sources of financing are they even looking at? It's not as simple as waving a wand and changing the face of Chile into a workers' paradise. Where is this money going to come from?
Well, that's always the problem with the left, right? They believe that you have a bunch of rich people where you can take the money away and, from them, and that then you can fund all the needs the rest of the population have. And this is nonsense. We all know that there is not enough money to do that. And when you start taxing them, you can, of course, destroy the incentives for wealth creation, and then people take their capital, away. And this is what has been happening in Chile. We have a record capital outflows from the country because people are very scared with what's coming. So they don't know where they're going to get the money. They say that the economy is going to grow a lot, and then that they will increase tax revenues by an amount that's completely unrealistic. So this is not going to work out for them. And I feel that they are going to run even a higher deficit. We are going to get deeper into debt. Chile used to be a very responsible country fiscally. We had, standards like many developed countries, basically, in terms of sovereign risk. And so now this is coming to an end very rapidly. It's not Boric that started that, of course. It's Michelle Bachelet who started spending too much, and then Piñera continued that path of a very, very high spending, unsustainable fiscal spending. So I think Boric is going to do the same. And public debt is going to go up from 38% of GDP that we have currently. 10 years ago, it was almost zero. To probably, who knows, 50 or maybe close to 60. It depends on how they manage the economy and the revenue side. But I think they want to spend a lot of money, and then we have the threat that they will, intervene the central bank. So we are having this constitutional convention right now, and the central bank is regulated in the constitution in a way that politicians cannot mess with it. But now that the radical left also controls the constitutional convention, it wouldn't surprise me if they end the autonomy of the central bank, and at some point they use it, in order to print money, so they can spend the money like Argentina does.
These very concerning potential to do things like compromise the independence of the central bank, the huge spending programs, the risk of capital flight, all of these very concerning kind of run-on effects that we're going to have to watch closely as people interested in the worldwide freedom movement are certainly things to watch. And I guess I want to ask you, what do you think this means for Chile's future? What does this look like for the not even just the short term, but medium and long term? How is the country going to change, in your opinion, with this recent election?
Well, I think this recent election is just accelerating a process that had, been developing over the last 10, maybe 15 years, where Chileans, I think that we are going to become just another failed Latin American country. We are not going to become a developed country. We are not going to see, poverty eliminated, even though we managed to reduce poverty from 60% in the 1970s to less than 10%. But now poverty is rising again. We will have the same problems that most, Latin American countries have, or all of Latin American countries have. Like, we will not have access to cheap credit. We will have to take debt in dollars, and we will have to pay high interest rates for that. So these sort of things are going to become normal. And also we will have higher levels of inflation. We already have high inflation. Of course, this is not only a problem in Chile, but we are a country with a history of chronic inflation. And that was solved by the Chicago Boys with the reforms of the 80s, and then the 70s and 80s, and then the 90s with the independence of the central bank. And because we had fiscal responsibility, and this is also coming to an end. So it's gonna be a very interesting case to study again, Chile. Like, we were a very poor country in the early 70s. We had the socialist experiment. The country was destroyed. Then the Chicago Boys came. They fixed the country. We became the most successful nation in Latin America. The central left-wing political parties that came after the Pinochet regime, they maintained the system, even deepened the system. And now we are going back, and we are destroying the institutions that made us so successful. So this is going to be a very interesting, from an intellectual perspective, for many to observe.